The information in this podcast is not legal advice and should not be construed as such. It is for informational and educational purposes only.
Welcome to Resource Sessions. I'm Gwendolyn Sterk of Sterk Family Law, and today we're honored and privileged to have with us Ines from Guardian Angel. Thanks for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having us. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Well, your organization is one near and dear to my heart. I have been practicing family law for almost 37 years, and as a result, I obviously have had many encounters with Guardian Angel Community Services, and it's important for everybody to get to know what you do and what you offer in our area. So can you give us a little introduction? What does Guardian Angels mean? What do you do?
Great. Thank you. Yes, wonderful. And thank you for your dedication to our community. It's fantastic, and I know that you've helped us so much over the years. So Guardian Angel is really a beacon of hope that has withstood the test of time here in Will County because we are the oldest nonprofit social service organization operating here, going strong since 1897.
Wow.
So I've been here a long time too, not that long, but 26 years. So that has gone by so quickly, and I just it's been a blessing to be here amongst my wonderful colleagues, and of course our board and the supportive community, people like you that help us do what we do. But we wouldn't be here at all if it weren't for our wonderful and dear Sisters of St. Francis of Mary Immaculate, who founded us eons and eons ago, right? And we became a child welfare organization in the 1970s and have been going strong since, and have modified programming and services depending on what was most needed in the community, right? So,
Sure.
Yeah.
What would your services be? So, what members of the community are you providing aid to?
So we have 6 core programs here at Guardian Angel, and you might be surprised to learn that we serve over 100,000 people annually. But that is because we have an amazing and robust prevention education and community outreach program, mainly through our domestic violence and sexual assault programs and services. But in terms of direct service, our 6 core programs include working mainly with at-risk individuals and youth and families or survivors of some kind of trauma. So our domestic violence program, I keep saying that I can't believe we celebrated 40 years of service for groundwork, but now that's already been a number of years ago. So
Right.
We have 24-hour emergency shelter for survivors of domestic violence, and we have individual counseling for adults and children. We do legal and medical advocacy, providing supports in the courthouse for orders of protection. And you don't have to reside in emergency shelter in order to get support and services. So
Right.
that's very important for people to keep in mind. And another one of our domestic violence programs is Susie's Caring Place, which often people, after they receive comprehensive services in our groundwork domestic violence program, might transition into Susie's Caring Place, which offers transitional and permanent housing. Because we learned over the years that emergency shelter, in terms of the time frame, right? Sometimes people stay for 30 days, 45 days, sometimes a couple of months, but you need more time than that to address
Right.
economic and emotional consequences of victimization. So Susie's Caring Place was really born out of that, so people would have more time to rebuild their lives, and once they're in, safety, continuing to safety plan with us and get those other support services through groundwork. So that program has been phenomenal as well. Our Sexual Assault Services Center, that also has been in operation for decades, offers comprehensive services to survivors of sexual assault, incest. We've served victims of human trafficking. And we're also ever present in the courthouse and in the hospitals, providing legal and medical advocacy. And there's a lot of crossover between our domestic violence and sexual assault programming as well. And that's one of the things that's nice about Guardian Angel is through all of these programs, we've had clients who access multiple at the same time. So it's nice to have all those supports. Our Exchange Club Center for the Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect, also founded by the local Exchange Club, has also been in operation for many, many years and has continued to expand and grow as a result. And we offer parenting classes and nurturing parenting programming in that program. So these are not, classes that are just a week long. It's typically can be about an 8-week session with various areas of focus in terms of whatever the topic is that we pick for that session, but mainly deals a lot with developmental stages, obviously, and growth and what to expect as a parent. And we want to prevent child abuse from happening, right? Our other education-based program is our partner abuse intervention program, which works with perpetrators also of domestic violence, because we want to do everything we can to positively influence the stopping of violence.
That's right.
So again, 26, 27-week programming there in order to address, take responsibility for behaviors, and also to heal from wounds that they have as well. These
Right.
things don't just come from out of nowhere, but there has to be an accountability aspect there, and some self-reflection on learning and challenging beliefs about relationships and power and control. So that program is also expanded immensely under wonderful leadership that we have throughout all of our programs. And so we're fortunate to be able to provide that as well. And our foster care program, which I mentioned earlier, the organization was basically founded by the sisters as an orphanage to care for neglected and dependent children. And then in the modern day is considered foster care, right? Because orphanages are no longer in existence.
Right.
A to Z, we
A to Z.
provide the care all the way through to bio parents and our wonderful foster parents who provide, care to our children, to the youth that are wards of the state.
Right. And one of the things I think it's important, and being familiar with your organization, I know that you provide those long-term services, but a lot of people don't comprehend that there is so much available. You're not just gonna see them for a few weeks and drop off the face of the earth and end the services. And that's what I think is very unique about the Guardian Angel program, because you're really walking it through. And like you say, there's some crossover there. There's also parenting classes. There are things that can help an individual be able to move forward with their life, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's also really important to highlight for those listening, if we've served and provide services multiple times to the same individuals or families, that's okay. These are complex issues that and we're human beings, right? And when it comes to relationships and violent relationships, they usually don't start out that way. It's very complex. And so we might help someone multiple times before they find their way to safety for good. And that's okay. Call us as many times as you need to. We are here. We are always available. And it's important for people to know that.
Right. And that advocacy piece is such an critical piece. So many times I've seen the advocates in court, and it makes such a difference for people to have that comfort, to have that knowledge that somebody's standing by and to explain what's happening. When we think of any of us and we're in a crisis, right? You have all those factors that are coming in, and you might be so focused on one thing, which isn't even the broad thing that has to happen. But Guardian Angel really comes along somebody and comes aside them and says, okay, here's what we can do, and here's what we can do to help you move forward.
We're
And I
on
think
this
it's
journey with you. Yes.
Yeah. And it's that bigger picture plan that I think is critical. And I've always been a person who indicates that, we can't, and that's what I admire as well, is we can't leave it there. We have to have that partner program as well. Because if you are the perpetrator of domestic violence, you have your own issues that need to be addressed, as you indicated. So having those dual programs really becomes critical. So what I like to share with the audience is that you're really a full stop shop, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're dealing with both sides of the issue, and also addressing the children's needs simultaneously, and having that assistance that can go forward, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I always want to include our hotline information. So for our domestic violence programming, the phone number is 815-729-1228. And our hotline for sexual assault is 815-730-8984. And we are available 24/7. So, but yes, there are various resources that we have that can be beneficial across the board.
And I think sometimes, and I know, for us, it comes without question that the services are provided free of charge. But if you're listening today and you're in that crisis situation, you don't need to worry about that as your first line. Your first line is to pick up the phone, call the crisis line, and they're going to help you get to where you need to be.
Yes.
And people worry about these odd things, right? And you don't have to be embarrassed. There's no shame here. Life brings what it brings, right?
Absolutely. And some of our education-based programming by design have some, fees associated with them. But when it comes to emergency shelter and
Right.
domestic violence and crisis intervention, absolutely free of charge. When you're fleeing, the most important thing is your safety and taking those important things with you, like your, medicine and your birth certificate,
Right.
things like that.
The things you might forget, like your
Right.
purse, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Everything else can be figured out, but the
sure.
main thing is to get to safety. Yeah.
Right. And get that taken care of. So, we've talked about the person who you needs to utilize your services, but there's also part of our audience out there today that is saying, okay, look, either I had this in the past, I had a family member, a friend, or I have a passion about this issue. I really want to become involved. What opportunities are there for somebody to support guardian angels in our community?
Thank you so much for asking. And it's such the perfect time to ask you because there's so much going on. But as you can imagine, we do operate, we're essential service providers on the front line. So 24 hours a day, depending on your level of involvement and your availability. So we even have volunteer positions in our domestic violence and sexual assault programming that do require pretty extensive training, right?
Right.
So if you do want to be involved at that level, there's a 40-hour, it's varied from 40 to 65-hour training that's provided at the agency several times throughout the year. That's for that hands-on, type of work that, or volunteerism that people would like to get involved in. But otherwise, there are a lot of other opportunities throughout the year. April, that's upon us, right, is Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Right.
And October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we have our Angels Against Abuse 5K in October. In April, right now, I want to share the correct dates. We have our Walk a Mile event taking place on April 29th, our Songs for Survivors event on April 24th. We have our huge Angelica Gala, which is our Dancing with the Stars local fundraiser. It's our annual gala that's taking place on April 11th. And all of this information is available at gacsprograms.org, on our website, on our Facebook page. But there are many different ways to get involved. You can put a team together, for example, for our walks or for our other events, or you could volunteer to help with setup or dispersing information. So it just depends on kind of that level, but there's something for everyone for sure.
Right. I think it's kind of interesting because you said something that, it can be fun to volunteer, right? I mean, you can go to the
Yeah.
event, you can plan for the event, you can help, like you said, with setup, you can just get a team together. There are things you can do. So instead of just going out for yourself, you can just turn around and say, I'm still going to have fun with my friends, but I'm going to go out and support something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, and we understand that these are, it's a heavy topic, heavy material, right?
Right.
But the strength of the human spirit is something to be celebrated. And
Sure.
for as long as I've been there, we've seen that time and time again in our the folks that we work with that are just a true inspiration every day. And it is something to be celebrated and recognized. And so when we have these rallies and these events and we're coming together in support of this fantastic cause, and also to be a voice and to join with others, with survivors and with families and with kids and all the other people that we serve, because we're all in this together, right? Anyone can find themselves on the other side of
100%.
life circumstances
Right.
that are similar, or that maybe you can relate to what we're saying. And that's why we're here, and that's why we've been here for as long as we have.
Right. When you take the gamut and the range of the programs that you have, from sexual assault programs to domestic violence, I mean, but for the grace of God, go I, right? Any one of
Right,
us could
right.
be that next person.
Or
And
know
so,
someone who is, or know the
correct.
purpose, and
Right.
get them to us,
Yeah.
get them to the right people.
Get them, refer your friends, participate. I think that we all can become part of that network too. How to get help for somebody, because you hear that outcry, and rather than sit back and do nothing, even
Right.
if you refer, you can do something in and of itself. And then when you do that referral, go out and get involved in the community. That really is our call today to the community, to
Yeah.
listen, to say you can do something.
And then there's something for everyone, right? Because we've had wonderful people in the community do different drives for us, and they'll say, "What do your foster kids need the most?" And
Right.
they tally, get donations for us, or try and help recruit foster parents, or you know what I mean. It just there's a lot of opportunity there, and there's such a security in the huge numbers and following of people that we have that we're very grateful. And so just pick up the phone and call, but make sure that you have our information handy, because you just never know who's going to need those services.
100%, yeah. And I think it's real important. And I think that you do offering so much to the community. There's not one person that could be left behind. I mean, there's something for everybody out there if they're listening. So, twofold. If you're a victim and you need help, reach out and call. If you're the person who can give back, what a greater time, and use your time and the fun time that you have to do something. I mean, look, the 5K is not for me, but the gala might be, right? So, I mean, you just have to look at what's important to you and what you can do and what range is out there, and
Right,
find out what's there.
and even with those events, you do, like with our 5K or our walk a mile event, you can just come for the speaking part, or to show solidarity, or believe me, I'm not running in any races myself, but I walk it,
Me either. Right.
So it's just important to be present and to show up for the cause, women and men alike, please.
That's right. Yeah.
One thing we emphasize when people say, well, these are women's issues. Well, no.
Right.
Vast majority of the perpetrating is not being done by women. So it's very important to have strong men also in positions of power, carry our mission also in their engagements to lift us up, because there's people who really need it.
Right. And passing along that information is really critical as well, as you indicated. Well, we can't thank you enough for all the time that you've given us today. I know your time is valuable, and I surely appreciate the outreach that you have in the community. And, the number of people that you serve is astounding. It's on an annual basis. So thank you so much for what you do on behalf of Sterk Family Law, especially being in the courthouse. We salute what you do. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.